Hello everybody, welcome back to Spruverse, my scale model universe, people of Earth. It's a brand new build on the bench, and I'm embarrassed to say I have never built a Klingon ship. I haven't. I mean, I wanted to, but I've never built one. And so I think it's high time that I dove back in. Now, the other night, I was thumbing through some of the old Star Trek films, just because I wanted to cheer myself up, and I can't get enough of them. And I decided I was going to plug in Search for Spock. And then I thought to myself, that's a good idea. So I went to the stash and I pulled out this. So that is what we are building. So, excuse the lens flare. So, you know, in typical fashion, I've cracked it all open, pulled all the plastic off, and started looking at the parts because, you know, you don't need to see me doing that. And this is not an unboxing. As you know, I'm not a big unboxing fan. But, curiously enough, it's not a complex model. It's not a big model. So I'm actually thinking I'm going to light it. And we're going to build it in the... well, they're calling it the landing mode. So if you look at the destructions here, there's an offering on for step 1, and you've got options to put it in cruise, attack, or landing. Now I'm going to put it in the landing mode. It's a nice looking sort of angle, which I'm fond of, and I've got this wonderful rock that I printed up, and my battery for lighting this thing will go underneath. So that's what we're going to do, and we're diving right in. Now this is printed in green, which is curious because it still has to be primed. But, you know, they figured, well, you know what, if you don't want to paint it, you just go ahead and put it together. You certainly could. And I think for the young'uns out there who want to start, that's a nice place to start. Is just get comfortable with putting the pieces together and following the instructions. So, as I mentioned, we're going to be putting this in the landing gear mode. Now, I am not the kind of person who goes upstairs every night and mixes rocket fuel in my tub. However, these instructions are wrong. They're wrong. I mean, no, it's not a big deal. So it's not like, aha, look what I've done. I've discovered an incredible mistake. But if you are trying to follow along, it would be very nice if they got the right numbers with the right pieces. If you are, as I am, going to be building this in the landing mode, these pieces, these numbers are all reversed. They're all wrong. So the pieces that are supposed to go with the port side actually go with the starboard side, and vice versa. So now that took me about 5 days to figure out, because as you know, over here we we're not firing on all. No, I'm teasing, but you know, it was like, oh, okay. So what else is mismatched here? And so at that point, I kind of figured to myself, you know what? Taking all of these pieces off of their trays is not the end of the world. You're not going to get too lost. So anyway, that's where we're starting. We're gonna start in the landing mode, and I have actually started removing flash from some of the gum pieces. And when I say flash, I'm not just saying flash, I mean flash. This is, that's flash. I mean, come on, that's pretty gnarly. And there's some other little marks on here, little burn marks, or little bites I call them, where it wasn't even attached to trees. You know, little bits of cleanup. So we'll go ahead and start removing a lot of this flash. And when I've got it like this, I don't like to use my number 11. You certainly can. What I prefer to use is a flash blade. And there's a company out there, which I will leave in the description below if you're interested in this. It's very, very flexible. It is ridiculously sharp, and it will not gouge your plastic. You can run it very lightly across the top of your flash, and it will cut it like butter. And you will not gouge your plastic if you're careful. If you're not careful, you're going to gouge your plastic. But anyway, I feel like I've got a lot more control over this because it's so flexible, the blade, that you can get into tight places. So that's how I remove mine. Interestingly enough, it did come with a couple of curiosities. One curiosity is they doubled me up on the clear for the phaser. I guess it's a phaser or laser or photon torpedo. Probably something more like a photon torpedo. They doubled me up on the clear. It's the same part. They just threw in two in the bag. Thank you for that, because you know you can never have enough clear. So that was good. And then with this sad little base that they always put in with the they've included what appears to be. Let me get this out, and then we'll put them somewhere safe. Yeah, they've included some landing gears that they're metal. They're cast, but they're metal, and I appreciate that, because the level of detail you're going to get, well, dropped it. Level of detail you're going to get out of that is quite extraordinary, and it feels heftier than plastic. We always talk about this. You can certainly paint plastic to look like metal, but if you've got metal, there is no substitute. So that was really cool. I certainly appreciate that. So I'm going to pull these out of here and put them in a safe space. I'm going to continue to clean up some of these parts. And then we'll start looking at where we're going to light this. Well, I'm continuing to do assembly, but I wanted to pop in here because there's some bits and pieces here that are a little goofy. So you've got several choices in terms of how you want to present this thing. You can have the landing gear down, you can have the landing gear up. If the landing gear is up, or it's supposed to be, or it's collapsed inside of the wheel wells or the foot wells, then you wouldn't use these pieces of metal, which is a shame because they're actually, the detail on them is quite good. If you had it in the flying position, you've got this piece here, and what you would do is you would just simply attach this to this, and you'd have to, you know, trim it up a little bit, but that's essentially how that would look. If you're not going to go with that and you want the landing gear down, and I want the landing gears down because they're actually quite dramatic, then you glue these two parts together as I have done here. They come disassembled, and then there's just a little anchor point right here, and then that joins them together, and then that allows you to place them inside the wheel well. And then they've got these feet that go on them, and it's quite dramatic because they obviously they look like talons, and I like that a lot. But if you're going to do that, then you've got these outside covers that slide on the end here, but it's not, the detail on this isn't very good, and there's no piece for the top here. This is just a flat piece, so I'm going to have to clean that up, even though you won't see it technically because it'll be sort of it'll be on that side, but you are liable to see a small piece of it. But regardless, I want to detail that out. And then the other issue, of course, is that they've only contemplated you actually presenting this if you're having the gears, you know, the wheels down or the feet down. they've contemplated this goofy thing, which is your ramp. And so essentially what happens is you've got these railings, and this would be in the down position, as if people were coming and going from the ship. But I'm having it just about to land, so I want this covered. So what I have to do is I have to essentially put this away in this position like this. Now it does sit there, but as you can see, you've got quite a bit of gappage here that I'm going to have to take care of. So I'm going to get some small strips of styrene and just sort of clean that up. So that would in essence take care of the undercarriage here. And then of course this is where your stand is supposed to go, but this is how I'm going to have it floating over my rock. And what I'm going to do is essentially I'm going to have it just sort of coming down, sort of sweeping across this as if it's coming over this boulder and landing, but obviously this is where my power is going to be. But it should look quite dramatic. So I just need to figure out how I'm going to make that attachment point for my wiring. And then I have to decide what I'm actually lighting. It appears on the reference photos that I've taken and I've been looking at a couple of scenes. One is at the very end of the film when they are hovering over the ocean and they're about to pick up our two whales. And you can see some floodlights on the wings. So what I've got to do is I've got to basically get these off the sprues now, and figure out if I've got room in here to run some chips for SMD chips, which I would light this with, and then of course there are a couple of other opportunities for lighting. One of those opportunities is here. There's a light right here. And there appears to be one more light right here, and there are a couple of opportunities for on top for you to put some lights in these windows here. So they would need to be cleaned out, and that's not a problem with my sonic knife. I can clean those out quite nicely and get some light in there. And there appears to be also a light right here, and that most likely could be a probably, I would say, like a 1.8 little top hat light I've got, which I can put in here. Now I've also got an opportunity, I think, to actually light the Photon torpedo, because that's in clear, and I might have a piece of photo etch that's not from this kit. It's actually from it's from a what is this from? Oh, it's from the Revel Zvezda, the it'll come to me. Oh, the destroyer. Do you know, it's really sad. I'm not sure whether it's sniffing too much glue or whether it's just that it's Sunday, which is when I'm filming this. But yes, so I've got a little piece there, and that could potentially work. Now, what I have failed to mention going up the top, that I've got paint masks from the great Lou Del Mesa. Oh yes, he makes masks for this. And I believe in his masking set, he's actually gives you the ability to actually light block and paint up your Photon torpedo. So we could get a red light behind that. And of course, he also gives you masks for your engine set, which is your clear part here. Here is this. and he gives you a mask set for this, so we could get our red lights across here. That could look quite dramatic. So we've got some opportunities. I just have to figure those out, and I haven't quite done that yet because I was messing around with this undercarriage and realizing that I've got a little bit of work to do to clean this up. I'm going to have to sort of, before I start to assemble any of this, I'm gonna get these light blocked. I'm quick jump in because as I'm sort of putting these things together and realizing that it sort of struck me, well, if we've got metal there, we could put metal elsewhere. And right here, these gun tips are plastic. Now, I have a choice here. I can either get a small drill bit, a micro drill bit, and drill these out and make holes for them, which I certainly could do. Or what I could do is get some brass tubing, which I've done, and can grab a set of tweezers here, and you can see these pieces here. And all I need to do is just trim off this piece and just glue this piece on. And you've got a really clean barrel. And the thing I like about doing it this way is I can actually get a really nice barrel hole there that's quite dramatic. So that's the plan for the barrel. So I've got that all set up, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to continue with my assembly. But so I've taken some aluminum tubing like that. And I like the aluminum tubing because it's nice and soft. It's very forgiving. And I've added it to the guns here. And as you just saw, I was doing a little bit of drilling. What I was trying is just roughing up this surface so that when I get ready to paint this and detail it out, it just looks like a little more of a muzzle than just clear plastic. Now we can dry brush all of this and make it look like metal, which we will do. But for the most part, these ships were predominantly green. They were all green. But anyway, I think it's a nice detail, and I think it'll pay off. I've got the wings. I'm pulling off the sprues now, and so we're just doing that. And then what I can start to do is look at how these will attach to the actual body of this Klingon bird of prey. And then the thing of it is once you put these two pieces together, you sandwich them together, we will have ourselves a pretty decent look at where we are in terms of whether or not I can actually get some lights in here. I think I can. I'm going to be using the Evans nano chip lights, and they use that very, very, very fine magnet wire, or it's a very fine copper wire, and it's very forgiving. So doing a test fit here, I'm thinking that yeah, here they are. There are these two here. Let me get you in close so you can see. These are the I believe these are, here they are. these are the two headlights. They're the two lights. Can you see that? There. It's a little out of focus. I apologize. Let me get there. Oh, that's better. Those are the two lights that we're dealing with. And I think that what we should be able to do is we should be able to, we should have enough room. I might have to do a little bit of grinding there, but not too much. And then we've got this little cavity here, this cavity here, and then that'll allow us to go into the belly of this beast. So we should have enough room to get our wire in there. I'm gonna take a quick look and see. I'll test that out once I've got these cleaned up. But I think we should have enough room to do it. I think it's worth it, only because even though this is a tiny ship, you know, I don't know. It doesn't appear though there's an awful lot going on with it because of the scale, just in terms of drama. I mean, obviously it's going to get a lot of washes, and the greens will patinate the greens and give it some pop and really darken it down and age it up a little bit, and, you know, give it some wear, because I think that's the fun of it. Yeah, I think getting some lights in here will be fun, and it'll be a challenge. So we'll see what we can do. Well, I've been light planning and I've been light blocking all at the same time. And things are coming together. What I am pleased about is that the wings, because they've got a small lip on them, they can handle the magnet wires. I was concerned that these wires would not fit because I didn't know if I had enough room, if I had to gouge into here. I don't have much ability to grind or gouge. This plastic is very thin, but they work perfectly. And so when I sandwich down on here, and let me get this on camera for you. I'm trying to figure out which camera I should go to. There we go. Perfect. Here we go. So there they go, nice and bright. And what I'll do is I'll get some lenses on here. I'll use a little solar res to get some lenses on there, and that'll take care of those floodlights in the wings. So that's a result, and I'm very, very, very happy with that. And I've just got one more of those to do. So that will take care of the lights in the wings. So that's that plan. I've put a light. I've been trying from the couple of minutes where Krug is. Well, there's a couple of scenes that I've been looking at. Krug buying the Genesis files and killing the group in the freighter, and of course his spy, his female spy, getting killed, sacrificing herself for the cause of the nation. And there's a couple of window slots, and I'm gonna use my sonic knife to cut some slits into the windows. You don't want to, I mean, I could start drilling holes. Maybe I can put a few pinprick holes here and there, but I don't intend to light a lot. There isn't a lot of light. But here is the undercarriage light right here. Let me see. It's getting washed out a little bit in, but that's good. There, you can see that's actually nice and bright, and I will get a little lens on that one as well. So that takes care of the undercarriage light. So that's good. And then I've got to put one in the well, this is the undercarriage light. I apologize. This is the top of the ship. That's the top of the ship, so that's good. That takes care of that. And then this is the undercarriage light, and I've got to get one in the undercarriage. and that'll take care of that. And then I've got an orange light for my photon torpedoes, and I'll put those on. I'll put that on a momentary switch, so you can, you know, go pew 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 pew. Don't laugh. It's serious stuff when you're building torpedoes, especially the photon kind. So I'll put a momentary switch. Now I don't know if it's going to be in my rock or in the base, but we'll get our momentary switch in there so that we can interrupt that circuit, and that way the photon torpedo flashes when I want it to, because I don't need a board. Now the other thing, the only other light, so lights in the windows, and I'll show you. Here's the slits that I'm planning on using. Let me see, where should I go? Let's go back to the close-up camera. So here are my slots, my slits. Yeah, these are windows. Here, here, and here. So I'm gonna slot those out with my sonic knife, just because I can get a really crisp cut with those. And there's a couple in the head here. There's a couple of slits here. There's a pair, and there's a pair on the other side. So I think that will do it for the light. Well, actually, that's not true. There's a couple down here too, which why not? You know, let's just go crazy. There's a couple there too. So I'll cut all those out and get light in those. And then the only other thing I'm considering, well, I'm not really considering. I'm going to do it. But right here, let me see. Let's go to, okay, there. That's perfect. So right here is this area. There's one on each side. Do you see? Well, in the frame grabs, those are red. And I happen to have some square reds right here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to carefully chew out the back of the, well, I should say not the back, the sides of that. And I'll be very easily, it'll be, if the mouth worked, it'll be easy for me to get these reds in there, and they'll fit in there like a charm. So that'll take care of that. And I think that will be my lighting for this kit. And so I can get all of those wires in, and then I can start to seal it up, because it's just a world of green. The only technical issue is I think I'm going to have to get my brass tube. I'm going to get that epoxied in. Now, you know, I'm going to get that epoxied in first, so that I can run all my lights out to it, and then I can seal everything up. And it'll give me something to hold on to, actually. I'll obviously mask this so I don't ruin it, although I'm thinking this might want to be black anyway, so maybe I'll get a coat of paint on that first. And then it will sit in my rock, which has its battery in it. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start working with Lou's masks. The great AZTEK dummy has the AMT Klingon Bird of Prey. If you're looking for this, Steve over at Cult TV Man will have your masks. This is AD82. Let me get this on camera and shill shamelessly for my friend Lou. Here it is. And I suggest you get these masks, because that's the only way you're going to be able to paint these correctly. Now, yeah, there are other ways to do it. You can make your own masks. You can try liquid mask. I've tried it all. But at the end of the day, and I'm not just saying it, the masks are a wonderful tool to have. And then, of course, I picked up these Imperial warship decals. This is Rick Sternbach, of course, the great Rick Sternbach. But there's a couple of things on here I might use. Check it out. These are these are really fun, and there's all kinds of little details and images here that I think are perfect for the Klingon Empire ship, and I think they'll bring a tremendous amount of added value to this build, because the great thing about this Klingon ship is that you can really age it up. You can, it's been through it's been through the battles, and I love that. Even though it's in the utopian world of Star Trek, it itself is dystopian, and that's where my heart is. I just love trashing and aging things. Okay, so that's the lighting plan. We know how to mask everything. We know it's going on our base. So what I'll do now is I'll finish the rest of the lighting, and we'll do a light test before we close it all up. Just checking my wiring on the wings. The lights are in, and both wings are sealed up. So I just have a little bit of light blocking to do, really. And then we can get going on getting just a little. I'll probably put a little bit of masking fluid on the lights, because I don't think they'll need any more than that, just to keep them. You can also put you can put some microcrystal clear over them too, but then you're going to have to wait for them to dry a little longer. The latex tends to dry a little faster. Okay, so I always love how lazy I am. It shouldn't be any trouble for me just to go ahead and get my transformer on so I can check, but I'm just too lazy. Let's see here. There we go. Looking good. So I've got just a little bit of light blocking to do. This area right here, I had to put a little bit of my light curing resin on just to clear up. I'd inadvertently drilled the back of these out, but that's okay. So that just needs to be cleaned up now, and then I'll get what I'm going to do is once this is painted correctly, then I'll go ahead and get my solar res on there, and we can make those lenses really pop. I've got a little bit of cleanup to do, some seam work I want to do, just because I can see. You don't want to look at any unsightly seams here. You want these wings to look really cool, and they are cool. I had forgotten how much fun it really is to have an alien ship to paint. Haven't done that in so long. Okay. Otherwise, it's all looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with how this all turned out. Nice and smooth. That's all looking really sharp. Really sharp. I don't really have too many issues. I've got a little bit of cleanup just to do, some sanding to do here, but I'll continue to work on that. I've got my light in the bottom here, and that should be good. And then last night I managed to get my red lights going. Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, you can just you can see it here. Let me get you close up here. We'll take a look. There. That's the way you do it. Okay, so that one's good, and it's not too obnoxious, so that's good. And then over here, we've got lights in these two alcoves here that I had talked about. right here, and I had put microcrystal clear in those, and they are just little little square hats that I managed to plug into the back, and so everything is going to be on the same circuit, except for my torpedoes. My Photon torpedoes, they'll be on their own circuit, and that's the only thing that will be. Everything else will be powered by the same system there. So let me just get this hooked up like this. Then I can actually solder these together, I think. Let's see here. Let's turn this over for you. Actually, I should go to so that I can manipulate this. Otherwise, we're going to be here all night while I'm fighting the battery. I don't know why I do that. It's a weird habit I have of just not I'm fighting things constantly. I'm fighting things constantly. Okay, so here we go. That is going to be spectacular. And then I've got my little running light here. And so now those are all good. What I've got to do now is I've got to get my windows in. All the windows that we drilled, I'm going to have to figure out how we're lighting those. Because and then we'll light block everything from the back here. Actually, this is very helpful, because what I can do is I can come along with my tulip here, and I can start to black these out on the back, and then that will give me a chance to sort of figure out what needs to be light blocked and what doesn't. It's a really good light blocking tool, and we'll get paint on this anyway, but yeah, that's going to work out really well. I'm super happy with that, and we'll get some on the inside, so that'll take care of all of the lights except for the Photon torpedo, which I will hook up. I'll test it. The bulb is fine, but I'll get that installed. And then that's all the lights, and we can start to seal everything up. Okay. So I've got all my lights relatively well light blocked. What I've been doing too is I've been using some of my black Mr. Surfacer. This is the 1500. I swear by Mr. Surfacer. It's a really great product for some really hard to get to seam issues. Great fun to use too. I have it in all different thicknesses. It's just a heavy paint really, but it sands beautifully and it dries beautifully. It's a good product. I like it. So I've been using it to light block. And one of the things that I'm doing is I'm just putting a little, just a little dab of it in, around in the windows, and that'll create some really nice shading. And I've got it on this light, which is on the top of the piece, and so I should be good to go. I think that's everything now. So what I'd like to do now is start working on joining these parts together, and I've got one other light that I need to get in here. And that is going to be my orange light for the front. So I'm going to get that installed, and then that is simply going to sit on the front here like this. And it's time for me to sort of get that installed so that I can glue this up, and then that's ready to seal up, and then I can start working my way forward. There is a rod that extends. I can show you here. There's a rod it's sort of like I call it a rod, but it's some kind of a support mechanism that spans the length of this bottom piece. Now, I've looked at a couple of reference photos, and it appears mostly to be green, but the center of it has a sort of odd browns and rusts and blacks. So I'm going to have to detail that out before I attach it. So there's no point in me attaching it now, because otherwise it'll be a crappy paint job, because you won't be able to get underneath it. And I want to really do a really nice job of getting a base coat on this before we start working on all the details. So that's what's cooking right now. I've got, the only thing I want to do is, I do want to at some point, let me cut that off. I do want to at some point get on here, on here, this light, I want to get a little watch piece on there the way I did on the other pieces. I've started to put crowns on everything, and it's really been effective. So it's a nice detail, and it crisps up those lights beautifully, so you don't have a jagged edge. I like to see if now with my lighting, especially in these smaller scales, you're never going to get a perfect hole if you're drilling it out. You can get it relatively clean, but I think it's nice to have a crisp finished exterior. It just adds a whole nother dimension to your models. At least I think so. Okay, so I've got some assemblage to do now, which I'm going to start to do. I epoxied in my my pole, so that ain't going anywhere. And that is rock solid, so that's good to go. That had all night to set up, and so it's rock solid. So that's going to be ready to sit on my rock. And then I've just got to get on the bench, and I've got to solder some extension wires here for this bottom light, which I'm now realizing should have been soldered into all of these. Deaf, dumb, and stupid. What a way to go through life. Okay, don't worry. We'll figure it out. Nobody panic. I can run another wire down there and connect everything to the same setup. But just goes to show you, sometimes you just get ahead of yourself. And it really is important to have workflow when you're doing lighting. At least for me, because this is typical for me. It's typical. So I just create more work for myself for no reason. But anyway, all good. All right, dangerously close. I'll bring you back as soon as I've put all of these pieces together. And it's relatively simple. There's no magic to this, right? It's just following the instructions and laying everything together. It should fit quite nicely. It looks like it's going to fit quite nicely. Everything seems to be very crisp, so that's good. I don't anticipate any problems putting everything together. The wings then will go on, and we should be in pretty good shape. So okay, it's together. And I'm going to start adding some details to it, obviously. But I have the wings on, and all the lights are in. So I've got to clean up this rat's nest at the bottom here, but everything is as it should be. I've got these two red little LEDs here that are going to be for the engines, and my Photon torpedo light, which I'll tip to camera so you can see. It's in the dark here, but my Photon torpedo light will be on a separate, just a separate momentary switch. And then I've got my, now this is still masked, so, but that will sit in the back. And then of course I've got the feet, which I'm going to put on because I think the talons look really good. And then of course I've got my my guns, and they go on like this. They slip on. Actually, wrong way. That one goes like that, and this one goes down like this. They slip in, and they're a really good fit. So so I'm really really happy with the guns. They look really good, and I'm going to wait on getting those attached because there's some detail work to do to these guns, and I've added some brass tubing just to get those guns a little crisper. And I may have some work to do on the undercarriage. I'm not sure. It's a little wonky, the undercarriage, and I don't know why. Let me just zoom out here a little bit here because we're a little wide. There we go. So let me get it off the stand for a second and show you what I'm talking about. When I tip it over, and of course if you've got a gun on it, it's going to fall off. When I tip it over, there's this gap here. It's really interesting. Now, I'm going to look through my parts and see if I've got a piece that is supposed to go in here. I'm sure there is. If I can't find that, I'll put some stripped plastic styrene in here to hide my wires, because I'd like to have that, even though you won't see that, I'd like that cleaned up. And then, of course, I will go ahead and put the undercarriage in. But step one now is to get a coat of my base color on here, the base green. That's what needs to go on here now. And of course, X the gunmetal that I've got on these engine wing attachment hinge parts. I don't know the official name of it, but that is what I'm calling it. Okay, really love the detail on this model. Really love it. I think it's just going to be a world of fun to detail out, get some paint on it and some washes. But yeah, really love it. I mean, it's a lot of fun, and it's a tiny scale, but it's okay. It's got a lot of bang for its buck. Really love it. And I love the design of it. It's really crisp. Okay, so I'm going to get it back on its stand here for just a second, and then the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to clean up all the wires, get everything down to its basics. I've got some details I'm going to start to put on before I go with my green, because everything is sort of it's one color now. And then I'm going to locate where this is going to sit on the rock, and then I'm going to figure out just exactly how this is going to attach to the base. Not entirely sure how I'm going to do this yet. I'm going to pull out the piece that this is going to sit on, just a small square which needs some terrain to it. So there's a lot to do, but getting this together and getting it to this point was a big deal. Okay, so I'm going to carry on. I've got all kinds of details that need to go on now, and I'm going to start to attach those. And of course, in classic fashion, I'm just noticing that there may well be. Yeah, there is, but it's on top. That's the problem. It's a detail that sits on top. It's not a detail. I think that. Let's see. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, that goes here. Yeah, these are details that go on top. They're not details for underneath. I was hoping I had missed something, but I don't think I have. I don't think I have. But anyway, we'll make triple sure. Okay, so yeah, these detail parts here, they are going to they're gonna go up here, and they lovingly hide this side piece here, and they just add this wonderful element to the top. It's a lovely swooping curve that they create like that. And they're going to go on like this, and that adds that really lovely detail to the top. And they've got pieces that will sit underneath those, so those have to go on now. And then I'll just carry on putting all of the details on. I've got these parts here that go on, and they hide that back element, and that's good. Lots of gack, lots of detail, lots of gack, but it's really coming together, and I'm really enjoying this. I just love all the detail. Great fun. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, with this kit, you can have these wings in several different positions. And Lake Monsters has a kit for this that will allow you to hinge this correctly. It's available from Lake Monsters. So if you want to do that, you can certainly do that. And there's lighting kits for this too. If you want those engines to pulse, you can have a board for those as well. So there's all kinds of aftermarket fun you can have with this. But I think as a basic build, I think it presents really well. That's what we're using. Okay, so just a base coat. We're going to obviously be layering and layering and layering. There's lots of different colors on this thing, but I wanted to at least start getting some color down. Because once it's all blended together, it's going to look quite cool. Now it looks a little weird because it doesn't it's not amalgamated, but I assure you all that will change very quickly, and then we can really start having some fun with this thing. Now you might say, Phil, you haven't masked your hinges that you pounded in the gunmetal, and you'd be correct. The rest of this thing is it's all one color really. There's a little bit of metallic on the gun ports and some other things, and I'll detail those out. But I just want to get an overall base coat down, and I'm going to be very careful. I'm using my super secret 3M sticky pads just to block out areas where I don't want to get overspray, and I should be fine. It's not a big area, so I'm not really concerned about it. It doesn't need to be, and if I need to touch it up, I'll touch it up. But I'm okay because I'm not putting a lot of pressure on this down on this. I'm at about 15 psi. And this paint is going on beautifully. It's going on beautifully. Now I gave it a good mix, obviously, but it's going on beautifully. So I'm going to just continue on my way here, sort of going around and taking my time. But I'm just kind of getting this base coat down. And I have to say already, when you start to get some color on this thing, boy, does it come together beautifully. It's really cool. It's a nice color for us to start with. I'm happy with that. I like it. Now in these studio lights, it's probably looking a little too dark, but from all the studio grabs, it's hard to really tell. But I've got a whole bunch of different colors here that I'm going to use. Different levels of tonality in the greens. And I've got also a couple of some darker greens too, like a drab that's almost in the brown color. And we'll be using that as well to pick it off. Now, the thing about this is, because of what this is, Lou's mask set is really there to protect your work. So you're going to have to go in, once you get the base down and then you start picking these off, you're going to have to sort of mask those areas off, which is not difficult. It's a small area to do. You'll mask the wings off. It's really in these grids that you're going to be masking off. And then when you've got all that done and you've sealed it, then he gives you a really nice mask to cover that and protect it, and then you can do the rest of your ship. So that should go quite well. No worries there. So there you go, and that's all I'm doing. I'm just kind of protecting the parts that I need to protect, and that's working a charm. And I'm carefully getting my paint on here. Now I've got this basic base coat down, we can really start having some fun with this. We've really got to start attacking sort of the weathering of this and all the very different sort of shades that this is going to ultimately be. It also needs some what I call patternization, which is to sort of start to bring out some of the colors and really play with sort of the drama of it all. Because remember, for us it's a piece of art. I know so many of us love to look at film grabs and try to emulate a film grab, and I love that. I think that's a very important part of what we're doing, what the hobby is. I mean, it really gives a lot of joy to people, and I think that's a good thing. But I'm of a slightly different camp, which is when you come to see something in person, I feel like I want it to really sort of stand on its own as a piece of art and as something to sort of pull you into the world that you're trying to be pulled into, but also have some fun with it as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit this with a lighter green. This is for those of you who are playing along at home. Here, this is the green I'm going to go with, and it's called light green. Let's do a wing. Let's do a wing, and we can sort of look at what I'm getting at here. Building color up and then adding some tonality to it until we flip this puppy over and give it its red wings, its red feathers, I should say, because these elements here are going to be, for me, I'm going to play with some of the darker greens just to give it some contrast. But I'm going to continue on with this this coat before I start building up some more color. But I just okay, now I'm adding some dark green to create the feather illusion on top. The bottom gets the red, and I'm able to do this with my airbrush, and I'm getting a really nice result because it's going to be weathered and chipped anyway, so I don't need to be spending too much time masking this. There's no need. I'm getting the right amount of coverage that I need to create this effect, and it's working quite well. And what I love about what I really love about the these Vallejo colors for this kind of thing is when you start to really play with blending, you really start to get some really cool results, and that I love. Now I'm just going to start picking out some panels and doing a little bit of that just to give it a little warmth. And then of course once we go back through this with washes, it's really going to pop. So really liking the way that's coming together. I'm trying to stay in one direction too on these little fantails, so that it feels like it has just looking to see where I've missed. I'm going to try and make some of these a little heavier than others. Okay, that's working really well. The nice thing about putting the very dark green down first is it mutes all these colors. It kind of does it for you. And I'll pick out a couple of these and go with a different tonality as well. Just to kind of, this is a good way to frame it. And add some dimension to it. And I also have to add some to this grid, so I might as well do it now. I told you it wasn't going to matter. And that's just going to start blending it all in. So that's working really nicely, and I'll come down here and I'll pick out some of these panels underneath. Okay. Okay, so that's sort of giving you a general idea of what I'm doing. I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to build it and build it and build it. Now underneath, I'm going to really be crisp with my feathers, and then I'll blend them back so it really has that punch. Because I've got it in the landing position, we're really, and I've got it slightly higher, so you're going to see these red feathers, I promise you. Okay, I'm going to continue to keep layering my color until I get something that I really like, and then we'll start to, then I'll concentrate on my red feathers. But I'm just going to keep blending color. I mean, that's what we're doing. At this scale, you've got to be really careful. You know, we'll go back and we'll pick out some details at the end, obviously, with some metallics, and we'll get some washes on here. But I'm really happy with this, and it's just a joy to paint. I'm getting the red feathers on now, and they're going on really well. I'm using 71269 in the Vallejo Model Air. It's a red. I've watered it down just a little bit, and I'm sort of putting it down by hand, and then I'm crisping up some areas with my trusted 3M Post-its, and that'll really pop it. And then we'll go back and just make sure that we've got everything. But the feathers are a big deal on this. It's interesting because they really are a sort of defining thing for this model. But at this scale, I'm finding that it's just really difficult to go wrong. I don't think you can make a bad move as long as you're careful. And with an airbrush, I think you can really do this. You can really do this justice. Now, it's going on a little thicker than I wanted it to, but that's okay. I'm going to get it in, and then we can blend it back. But it is really a dominant feature of this thing of beauty called a bird of prey. So I'm staying inside of the actual sort of feather line. I'm not going outside of that because I want to keep it, you know, pretty unique. The other thing too is there's going to be an awful lot of weathering going on here, so it doesn't make an awful lot of sense to be super crisp and clean because it's going to get a whole bunch of washes. And now you would probably want to be a lot crisper on a much bigger scale. I mean, let's say that the Kronos 1, it would need to be a lot crisper than this, but I don't think it needs to be at this scale. That's just my opinion. I could get a lot of hate mail for that. That's my feeling. But wait till you see all the washes on it. I think you'll agree that, you know, and I've been doing an awful lot of detail work with this kit in terms of airbrushing it, you know, really getting its tonality right, and it's starting to really come together. So I'm really happy with it, and I think once it's on its perch, it's going to look beautiful. Now I'm going to give it some dry brushing next, but I just want to get these feathers in first, and I wanted to obviously memorialize that because it's a big part of what we're doing. And as soon as I've got my feathers where I want them, then we're going to go back and just sort of give everything a much more sort of heavier blending coat so that can pop. And the way I can do that is I can cover these with the masks that Lou gives you in the masking set for this, and that'll work a charm because that'll protect this, and then I can go back and obviously give it some washes later. But that's I think that's really going to make this underneath pop. Doing some dry brushing here, and that's sort of the next thing I'm doing. There's a lot of raised surfaces on this ship, and it's a really good idea, I think, to kind of just hit them all, and then you can go back and blend everything down again. But I think where you've got a raised surface, you've got sort of a great opportunity to really pick off some things. I'm going to try and show you how effective this is. I can get close up here, and you can see already what that's doing. It's picking up all of these wonderful little highlights and all the little hoses that are in here, and it's picking up all these edges, and so you can see how effective that is. And if I can get us in a little closer here. Well, let me go here, and then I'll put it this way. Don't have an awful lot on the brush, but you don't need an awful lot, just to kind of really pick that up. I'm gonna get my brush a little wetter, I think. Now, dry brushing technique was something that really was a game changer for me when I first learned how to do it. And I know there's a lot of you out there going, hey, you know, we all know how to dry brush that. This is not a tutorial. I'm just trying to give you the step-by-step of what I'm doing. And for those of you who it is a tutorial for, I hope you get something out of it. But it does make a huge difference. And so I'm going to, well, let me see if I can get this. Yeah, let's go to this one. And there we go. Makes a huge difference, right? And we're going to continue to do that all over. And then don't worry, we're going to blend it all back. So it's not, you know, it's going to look a little harsh at first. It always does. But it's just going to pick up those areas where you otherwise would be missing, you know, missing an opportunity to really pick up some details. And you know, some areas are going to be harsher than others, but it does a really lovely job at creating some real drama for this for this wonderful. It's actually the detail on this is extraordinary. I mean, it's got so much surface detail for you to play with. It's really fun. And again, down here underneath, you know, there's a lot for us to play with there. Oops. There we go. So. And you don't have to use, I'm using a gunmetal. You can use whatever you want. But I just think these gunmetals, you know, once you've added all of your various different washes and paints, they really make a difference. They really do. So that's why I like to use them. Now, I don't know if you can notice, but we had this gap that is just part of the reality. It's the underbelly, so I think they assume you're not going to see it. I put some white card down, and then I dressed it up with some of my little watch parts. And it's added a wonderful piece of detail right there. And it really blends in beautifully. It looks like it was part of it all along. And that's what I love about my watch parts collection. If you want watch parts, go to Micromark. I don't know if they still sell them. That they used to sell them. Bags of watch parts, old watch parts. That's where I picked mine up from. And if you don't have them there, I bet you can find them on Etsy or eBay. There are bags of them, and I'm telling you, the little shafts alone are worth their weight in gold for antennae and guns and all kinds of things. Definitely worth having in your kit. Okay, I'm going to continue to get my dry brushing going, and then once I've done my dry brushing, I'm going to look and see what needs to be picked out with maybe some other colors, some pastels or some pale blues. Okay, so I had put a gloss coat of varnish over this, and I put just a scattering of decals. It doesn't really need it, in my opinion. I've got just a couple of Klingon letterings, and I did put on the knife and shield, which I've put on both sides. Now they're a little too slick. It'll all sort of blend in once I give it its matte coat. What I'm doing at the moment is I'm removing the silly putty from these front pieces here where I have put the red lights in. That's just come out, and I'm looking at a couple of light leaks. Now the other thing that I've noticed too is that the windows, now I'm using 9 volts, and it's a little too punchy, you know, it's just too much. It's not realistic, so I'm pulling that down, and the way I'm doing that is I'm using a little bit of my micro crystal clear, and I'm putting that into these windows right here. And so if you were sitting here in the studio with me, you'd notice this sort of ridiculous, you know, like this ridiculous sparkle. And what this will do is this will just bring all that way down. So these will dry, and when they've dried, I'll have windows. I'll have perfect windows, and they will have come down quite a bit. And when I put my matte finish on this, that will even diffuse it even more. So this is a really nice way for me to get a really clean result on these windows. And then I've got this this frame. I've got a frame, and I've got a sort of a bar, like some kind of a, I think it's supposed to be some kind of a fuel. I don't know if it's supposed to be a fuel supply line. I don't know what it's supposed to do, whether it charges the Photon torpedoes. I don't know what it is. It's a bar underneath, and That's got to go on. So I'm going to do that in just a second here. Just got one more window to put in, and that is here. Now you could also use, well, you could use your light curing putty to do this as well, and because it would give it a sort of a defrosted kind of look. The difficulty with that is you do have to be careful about your finish. If you're going to use the putty on a finish that's finished, as it were, you could run into a little bit of trouble. Okay. So I've got my Evans Design pulsing engine lights going, and I am noticing just a little, there's a little bit of a light leak in here, so I'm going to address that right now. Although, interestingly enough, it's the whole engine setup, so it does look, you know, it's sort of relatively acceptable, except it isn't, because it's pretty obvious it's a light leak. So I am going to take care of that. So once these windows are all done, that'll be good to go. Now I do like the punchiness of my red lights. I've got a little light leak on top here. I've got the lights in my, you can see they're on and they're perfect. Let's see here, there. These lights are on right here and they're perfect. And what I've done is something kind of fun, which I'll share with you right now. What we've got here is these little watch parts, okay? Like that. And what I've done is I've taken those and I've put them on top of the, I put them on top of the lights that I drilled out here. And they're doing a beautiful job. And of course, when we do our beauty shots, I think you'll be able to see this in much better detail. And then of course, my Photon torpedo is just an orange light at the moment, but I'm going to put that on a momentary switch so that we can punch it and make that look like it's pulsing. And then the only other place where I did put a light on is underneath. And let me get that on for you so you can see that. Best laid plans. There it is. And that's nice too. And that has one of those beautiful little watch pieces. This one is in brass, and it really, really blends into these Klingon, this sort of Klingon world quite beautifully. So could not be happier with this. Now bear in mind it's got a glass coat on it, so it's all looking a little wonky, but don't worry. We're going to get rid of the wonkiness. Now, the next thing up on the list of things to do is panel lining. And so I'm going to start doing some panel lining here. And I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna do some panel lines. I'm going to sort of give it an overall wash, just darken it down, muddy it down, and then see where we are. Now I've also got some pastels for my gun blasts. I'm going to put a little bit of soot on the end of my gun barrels here, which are pieces of brass tubing that I have added, which I think really make this pop. So dangerously close here, dangerously close. Now I probably should have put lights in these slots here, but I didn't do it. Didn't get round to it, didn't do it. So shoot me, put bullets through me, as they say. Okay, so washes and panel lining going on now. You don't need to see me panel lining. You know how to panel line. And if you don't know how to panel line, just hit me up, spruverse@gmail.com, and I can direct you to a couple of my other videos where I go into nauseating detail about panel lighting. Okay, so let me get some washes and panel liners on this. We'll let that sort of set in. We'll get a matte coat on this, and I've got my details to put on, and I also have my feet to put on too. I've got some detail work to do on this bar here that we're going to sit on top here. This sort of, it goes on and it sits something like that ish. It needs a little bit of love here, so just some panel liner in these little grooves here, which I will do, and then that bit goes on there like that ish, and then I've got my pipe, which goes underneath. This goes on the belly of the piece, and it's this pipe here. So I've got some detail work to do. I'm going to do a little bit of dry brushing, and then I will attach that. So that will be good to go. That's ready to go. And then I've got to do a little bit of detail work and some dry brushing on these metal parts. Now these came with the kit, and they're really nice. They just they're for the foots of the landing of the feet. So I'm going to have those out because it really gives it that bird of prey feel. And then we will we'll do I'll show you the base in progress just quickly, and then we'll finish the base and we'll do a reveal. Now, you know, it's really important if you're watching this for the first time. And I'm kind of like, it feels like, okay, well, how long did that take? Now, I have to say, the guru, Lou Del Mesa, is, you know, there's a reason why he goes day 1, day 2, day 3 of the build. And he tells you exactly how many hours. And I'm going to start working really hard to get there so that you understand. But just so as you know, this has been on the bench now for 2 weeks. And I'm in the shop somewhere between 8 and 12 hours a day. Okay? So, and I work Saturdays and Sundays because unless Mrs. Spruvers, well, unless we're doing something, or it's, you know, we're going somewhere, or I'm traveling, and I'm traveling an awful lot now because officially I am a grandfather. So, my grandson lives in Florida. He doesn't live here in California, so I'm traveling quite a bit, as you can imagine. But having said that, that should give you a little bit of an idea of what we're talking about in terms of time spent. We are down to the home stretch now. So let me tell you, you can see on the bench I've got the bird of prey mounted, and I've made all my connections. I have my momentary switch in, and I have my on-off power going to a battery under the base. The nice thing about the rock is that it gave me a nice enough indent that I don't have to worry about anything. But the one thing I don't have in my arsenal, if you can believe it, and I know a lot of you can, is 9-volt battery boxes. You know, finding good ones that are easy to access, not just a metal clip that you can fumble with. So that if you do end up having to put batteries under bases, which is not my idea of a good time for all kinds of reasons, that you have easy access to your batteries, and so that's something I'm going to spend a little more time working on. And if any of you out there have any suggestions for 9-volt battery boxes or a source for them, hey, drop me a line, spruverse@gmail, or leave a note in the comments. I'm happy to chase them down, and I would appreciate it. Okay, so all I have to do now is just a couple of soldering connections, which I'm going to do, and we should be good to go. So once I have got all these connections in place, I'm going to give her a final coat of matte, and we will be ready for final photos and final thoughts. Stick around. You know, I don't know what it is, but there's a joy and a sadness when you finish a kit. because the excitement and the challenge they just sort of all collide, and you go, oh, and then you start looking at it and going, should I have done this? Should I have done that? And at a certain point, you gotta say, all right, it's either done or it's a project that's going to last for a millennium. This AMT kit, I was bizarrely enough reluctant to build for a long time. I just didn't know if I would get into it, and boy, did I get into it. Incredible amount of detail on this, really packed into it, and I love all the surface detail. They did a really beautiful job with it, and in this scale, I think there's a lot more going on than there is in just, say, a regular TOS Enterprise or even a refit. I just think, for whatever reason, this particular subject matter and this particular kit really lends itself to this scale. If you don't have this kit, this is the bird of prey from, as seen in Search for Spock. I really highly recommend you get it and put it in your stash. If you have it in your stash, pull it out and build it, because I guarantee you're going to have a great lot of fun with it. I've lit mine, but there's so much more you could do in the lighting department. I mean, what I've done is I've just put I put a momentary switch in here so that you can see the photon torpedo firing. There that is. It's obviously at the end of the screen there, but it's really fun. And here's my finger playing with the momentary switch, and so that was a lot of fun. I put a couple of Evans design pulsing red lights in the back here for the engine, obviously, and I also put these little floodlights in. Which I'm really sort of super happy with. I did them on both sides, and I put some lights in the windows, and you're going to be able to see those a lot better on the beauty shots. We'll take a look at those in just a second. A couple of other things just to sort of point out on this kit. I added some of my watch parts for details over some of the lights here on top. I did that, and I also did it on the wing lights as well, because I felt that it added some value. It really added some value to it. They don't pop because I wanted to make sure that they were sort of in scale, but really super happy with the way this turned out. Really super happy. And I guarantee you, if you decide to play with this kit, there's so much more you can do. For instance, these guns, I think if you wanted to, you could, I know it's a lot of work, but you could literally, I seriously thought about it, you could actually get a little chip light in here, or even some fiber optics. If you wanted to light these up, you certainly could. I obviously changed out I punched off I nipped off the ends here and added my own parts, just a little bit of tubing. Here's a much nicer look at these engine lights, covered by, of course, my watch parts. And you can see just here, I'll cover it so you can see there are lights on, and I like the subtlety of that. Put a little bit of microcrystal clear in there. I added obviously some red lights to the end, to the sides of this. They almost give it a sort of an eye effect. Very cool, very, very cool. And of course, here's another quick look at the engines pulsing. There's all kinds of things you could leave them on. You could do, there's all kinds of wonderful things you can do with it. But I just had an awful lot of fun playing with this kit. An awful lot of fun. Okay, let's pull up some beauty shots here and see what we can, see what trouble we can get into. Here's the first one. So let me just get that. There we go. Here's the first one. Just a little soft kind of introductory kind of shot. I like that a lot. Here's another angle of it. really showing off the windows, and I think the wing lights as well. I have mine coming into land, but you can obviously pose this kit in several different ways. You can pose it in flying position. You can pose it in landing position. There's 3 positions, I believe, but I wanted to use the metal landing pads that came with it. Why not, right? Here's a really fun shot of it from the back, really showing the drama of this piece, the color, the richness of it. You can have so much fun with this. Here's a little bit of a tighter shot for you, so that you can see some of the details that I put in, windows and lights and that sort of a thing. Love this shot because it's a close-up of the Photon torpedo firing. Here's another one, slightly reminiscent of the shot from Voyage Home, when it's hovering over the water, kind of fun. Here's a sort of above, over the wing, where you get a slightly better look at some of the palette that I played with. And here is just another angle of it so that you can see. I put it on a very simple base. There's all kinds of ways you can present this, but I thought to myself, this was sort of the best way for me, just from a space perspective and everything else. So there it is, the AMT bird of prey, the Klingon bird of prey. I used some Rick Sternbach decals. I used the AZTEK dummy masking set, and I used some Evans design lights to create my own little sort of vignette here. And it's on a very simple base. It's just an art block that you can get at Michael's, with just a little bit of texture and some grass, just to give it some fun. Okay, so there it is. Hey, if you like the content and you're just sort of passing through, please give me a thumbs up and a subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. It means an awful lot to me. You can now buy me a cup of coffee. I've got a buy me a coffee link on my channel page, and I'll get into more details about why I've put this up. But mostly it's to help me with a lot of the builds that I'm doing. I get a lot of requests from people who are not able to build anymore. I can't build everybody's kit for them, but I can do 1 or 2. A gentleman with Parkinson's disease, I'm helping out. A gentleman with muscular dystrophy, I'm helping out. And the Buy Me a Cup of Coffee just helps me get those kits and gets it shipping paid for and that sort of a thing. So it goes to a good cause. It also says, hey, good job, Phil. So I appreciate that as well. Hey, as always, I wish all of you, please be safe, be well, build something, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Be well.